الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. Praise be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and his salutations be upon Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, for it is indeed tawfiq, ability from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which allows us to perform whatever good deeds we are able to. Today, inshallah, we will discuss Rabiul Awwal, what happens in Rabiul Awwal, and how do we do and how we should celebrate the advents and the events of Rabiul Awwal. We shall see that in the context of Muslims who live in communities which are predominantly non-Muslim. For example, in the United Kingdom, Muslims live in a wider community which is predominantly either Christian or they do not have any faith. Some are agnostic and others are atheist. In the Christian society, there are two major events which are celebrated annually. One is called Christmas and the other one is called New Year's celebrations, or New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. Christmas is the event which is related to the birth of Prophet Isa alayhi salatu wassalam. For Christmas, Christians often decorate streets, churches, public buildings, public squares with lighting and with colorful bunting and so on. Christmas processions are also held where people march and go from one church to another. Similarly, for New Year's Eve, it is usually New Year's Eve because it is the midnight which marks the end of one year and the start of another. So for that event, decorations are also placed, and usually because New Year happens so soon, approximately a week later after Christmas, that it is also celebrated with lights and with buntings of various sort. Parties are held in restaurants, people get together in clubs and also at other venues, either private or public, where food is served, bread, cheese, and very expensive drinks are served. So millions are spent on celebrating these events. Now let us look at other locations than the United Kingdom. Majority of migrants who come to this country, a lot of Muslims come from the subcontinent of India. There is a large community from Indian origin where the heritage lies. In India, there are two major events which are celebrated every year. One is Holi and the other one is called Diwali. Holi is the event of colors. Street processions are held where very colorful outfits are worn and people also throw color on each other. Not so much so in these days, but in the olden times, they used to throw colors on everybody, and this used to be their celebration. So street marches and merrymaking was a major expression of this happiness on this event. Now, Diwali is a festival of lights. For that, people hold candles and they also decorate streets and their houses and inside their houses and so on. And also on these events, people give to each other sweets and drinks as an expression of happiness and joy. Now, having said that, let us look at how Muslims perceive our position. For Muslims, there are two major celebrations which are given to us by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which are called Eid, Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha. We do not have any of these ways of celebrating those two events. Instead, wearing good outfit, nice and clean clothes, new outfits if possible, those who can afford, are worn, extra prayers are offered, and we also are encouraged to visit our friends and relatives so that we can show each other that we are joyous on this day, and we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for specific reasons. On one, we celebrate the end of Ramadan, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us the great blessing of Ramadan, and the other event is when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with a sacrifice. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala requires from us that we offer in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's way a sacrifice. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not put a burden upon us beyond our ability, but it is well within our ability. So, sacrifice of Eid, which is another subject, not related to Rabiul Awwal, so we shall leave this at that. Now, do we realize what our position is? We are the nation of Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who is best of the mankind. There is nobody comparable to him. Now, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to this world because the guidance and the knowledge given to the previous prophets became extinct and was no longer available to human beings. People were lost. People did not have divine guidance. Therefore, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to guide the mankind. Now, whatever remains from Christians or other faiths, although we may accept that they were correct and they were from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the first instance, whatever remains is neither credible, nor relevant, nor acceptable to Muslims. This is why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to us, and he brought uncontaminated divine guidance and the final message. Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the final messenger. There are no more messengers to come after him. Now, because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is best of the mankind, this ummah also has a special status. We do not follow whatever is left over from previous. We rely totally on the guidance given by Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We need to realize that we have to look for guidance. Whatever we do, whatever we decide, we have to go back to the original sources that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave to us. That is the Holy Quran and the tradition of Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, generally known as Sunnah. If we do not find something in the Quran and Sunnah, then that is not authentic. If we look at the reality, then we should realize that this era is era of confusion. There is a lot of misguidance, there is a lot of misinformation, and people are given information by the media which could be totally false. But if it's portrayed as truth, then a lot of people, the masses, will accept that to be the truth. Similarly, if somebody brings to us the truth, then very often it is brushed aside as conspiracy anecdotes. Now, truth and falsehood are mixed together, and we are very often in a very difficult situation to distinguish between the two, for ourselves and also for our brothers and for our communities. How to convince people that whatever we are being told is not true, or what the truth is about which we are being told that is anecdote. Now, this is a very difficult situation. I would like to invite you to contemplate, to ponder, and to think what our position is in this matter. It is a natural requirement that we should be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for His guidance and for His mercy. And we should be able to express that in a befitting manner. Are we expected to copy and to mimic and to take from other people, other communities, how they celebrate their events, and also bring that into our faith and show our expression of love for the guidance and for the one who brought the guidance for the best of mankind? Do we need to celebrate and show our love for the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the same manner as the other communities do? We have been described by the Quran, kuntum khayra ummatin ukhrijat lin-nas ta'muruna bil ma'ruf wa yanhauna 'anil munkar, that we have been raised for the service of mankind. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is best of mankind. He is the best of creation, and we are the best ummah. We need to perform our duties and responsibilities in a certain manner which is befitting being the nation of Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Let us reflect. Did Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam give us some guidance as to how to perform this duty, how to show our love for him, how to express ourselves? Is there guidance in the Quran? Is there guidance in the Sunnah? If there is guidance in the Sunnah, then we have to take that and not use our own desires and follow that. If we copy others, we will be following our vain desires, and our desires are not what would be acceptable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the Day of Judgment. Let us remember, when the first masjid was built in Medina, the question was then considered how to call people to prayer, how to announce that it is time for the prayers. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam arranged a council with his companions radiyallahu ta'ala anhum. In that council, various methods of inviting people, of announcing the time were considered and discussed. For example, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Prophet of Mercy, he had a council with his companions to discuss what would be the best way of calling people to prayer. In that council, different opinions were expressed. Christians announced their service, the time for prayer, by ringing bells. That was mentioned and considered. The Orthodox Jews, they have a practice whereby a horn is blown. They hold a horn and they blow it. And that noise that it produces tells people that it's time for prayer, it is time to go to church or synagogue, and it is time to go and worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala according to their way. But the suggestion and the vision given by Umar radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, that was accepted. It was also confirmed by Ibn Zayd radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. However, The visions narrated by Hazrat Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu and Ibn Zubair, Ibn Zayd. However, the visions narrated by Hazrat Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Umar bin Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and Ibn Zayd were accepted. That suggestion was more acceptable because it was original, it was guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Ibn Zayd and Hazrat Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, they saw a vision in a dream where the present day version of the call to prayer called Azan was suggested. The horn blowing and the bell ringing of Jews and Christians was considered with dignity but rejected. And the original way for Muslims, the call to prayer, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala willed, was accepted and is still the Muslim way today and until the Day of Judgment. So my dear brothers, we have to reflect what is expected of us. Do we have divine guidance? Has Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us how to consider matters which we face? An example is the prophetic teachings tell us that Islam has an attitude towards these matters. That is, take whatever wisdom you find as a lost inheritance of Muslims. Islam encourages to take wisdom from others because wisdom is a divine inheritance of Muslims. But Islam rejects any assimilation with non-Muslims. We should not copy and try to look like and try to become acceptable to others. We are unique. We have guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through his last of his messengers, Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we have to stick to that. We do not copy others. We do not want or wish to look like others. We do not wish to mingle with others to become equal. Because if Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is best of creation and we are best of nations, then we have to be original. We accept wisdom from wherever we find it, but we do not assimilate with others. We are told, Khalifu Yehuda wa Nasara. That is, maintain your original identity, that you are different from others. Another example is observance of fasting on Ashura, the 10th of Muharram. We are required, it is encouraged that we should perform an optional Sawm, an optional fasting on Ashura, but with a difference. If we can add another fast, either the day before or the day after, then it is acceptable. But simply performing the fasting of Ashura is not acceptable because non-Muslims, namely Jews, perform that. So we have to maintain the guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger, and we are the nation. We are the nation of the best of mankind, and we are the best nation because we have been raised for the mankind. We call people to goodness and we try to stop and tell people what is wrong. We encourage people towards good and prevent what is not acceptable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One other example is that we are encouraged to wear a beard. Muslims are encouraged, Muslim men are encouraged to grow their beards, provided we can maintain it, and also provided we trim our mustache. Because having an overgrowing beard is a tradition of of non-Muslims. Similarly, growing mustache is a tradition of people of Persia, non-Muslims. So we are told that we must maintain original guidance. We must present ourselves in the best way, and we must have the teachings directly from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through His Messenger, Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That is the only correct and authentic way. Now let us come back to the topic of Rabiul Awwal. Rabiul Awwal is the milestone month when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's decision to change the fortunes of mankind forever was manifested through the birth of a child to the household of Hazrat Abdullah and Amina in the city of Mecca. The child that was to grow and bring the guidance, the final guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Quran was to be revealed to him. He was to tell the people around him what is right and what's wrong. The guidance of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had far-reaching effects on the whole of the mankind. Quran describes the person of Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ, that we have sent you but mercy to the mankind. Sorry, we have sent you, we have not, but we have sent you as mercy to the worlds. The coming of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had such far-reaching influence on mankind that not only the Muslims benefited from it, but even the non-Muslims benefited from it. The world of men changed. Law and justice and fairness was introduced. Slavery was gradually and tactically abolished. A platform was produced to abolish slavery forever. Similarly, the status of women was raised to have equal human rights. Similarly, the first charter of human rights was given when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam announced, Al-yawma akmaltu lakum deenakum, Al-yawma akmaltu lakum deenakum, wa atmamtu alaykum ni'mati, wa raditu lakumul deena islama. So, when that message was given, that Islam is complete, at the same time, the final sermon of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam tells us the basic human rights, that your lives, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us in the final sermon that your lives, your property, and your honor is sacred, is sacrosanct. Do justice to women, do justice to those who are weak. In the final message, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave us guidance, and he told us that this world has to improve, and that affected the whole world. The civilization has changed since, whether people recognize or they do not recognize, whether they acknowledge or they do not acknowledge, but in fact, the whole of mankind, the civilization has changed because of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the mercy to the mercy to the worlds. So far so that not only human beings benefit from it, but also animal rights. Treat animals and all living beings with respect and dignity. Give them rights. Not only the world of animals, but also this planet. Respect for the ecosystem. Protection of the environment were encouraged by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We are forbidden to damage the trees. They are very important for the ecosystem, for the environment. We are told not to contaminate its water, standing water, because we know now, the science tells us, the standing water, if it's contaminated, then it breeds disease. So the blessing of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam benefits not only the world of men, not only the world of animals, not only the planet, but it affects everything whatever is created, the whole creation benefits from the advent of Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the advent of Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's coming is unique. It is a blessing to the worlds, and we have to recognize that. Inshallah, we will carry on our discussion how the Muslims are expected to behave and how we are expected to celebrate the person of Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how we are expected to perform our Islam, our faith, how are we supposed to show our love and affection to the benefactor whom we cannot thank enough. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala send His blessings upon His Prophet Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina wa Maulana Muhammad wa alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.